Hello and welcome to the Monocle Weekly. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco and today I speak with Brazilian cinematographer Adolpho Veloso, nominated for an Oscar and a Bafta for his work on Netflix's Train Dreams, a beautiful contemplative film starring Joel Edgerton, playing a logger in the changing American Northwest. Here's Adolpho with more and how he shot the film almost entirely using natural light.
Think that she knows that I'm her daddy.
Deep down, she knows it. Even if she doesn't know she knows it yet.
Adolpho Veloso, what a pleasure to welcome here to Monocle Radio. As a fellow Brazilian, of course, but I did love Train Dreams. I think such a fantastic film. Well, first of all, how are you feeling? You've been nominated for a Bafta, for an Oscar. I mean, that's incredible, right?
That is surreal. I keep saying that it's still hard to believe. Sometimes I wake up and I check on my phone to see if it's real. But, I mean, amazing to be here talking with you. Amazing to be talking with a fellow Brazilian. So it's a shame we can be speaking in Portuguese, but I'll try my best in English. Amazing to be here.
Well, my first question to you, of course, the film is directed by Clint Bentley as well. And actually, you've worked with Clint before, so you're kind of friends. You do have a relationship going on there, right?
Yes, definitely. We shot a movie together called Jockey in 2019, I think. And it was his first movie. It was a really small movie, like a movie we did with basically like 10 people and a really small budget. So I feel like the struggles of doing a movie like that really got us close. And I feel like we developed a friendship and a sense of it's almost like it's us against the world, because that's what it feels when you're doing such a guerrilla movie. So yeah, we've been friends since and we've been talking about what to do next. He was after a lot of things after Jockey, until he was offered Train Dreams to adapt, an amazing book by Dennis Johnson. And I'm super happy that he invited me to do it with him again. Because to be honest, I would do anything with him. Like I would be happy to just shoot.
You have that trust.
Yeah, totally. Like I know the director he is. I know that we have common taste in general. I really believe in a lot of things that he believes too. So it is an easy mission to work with him, but I was really surprised by how much I could connect with the story. When he first sent me the script, he was telling me like, I'm not really sure you're going to connect with the story. It's the story of this American guy living in the beginning of the past century, living in kind of like the middle of nowhere, that it's like building on the construction of train tracks. It's a logger. I'm not sure you're going to connect, coming from Brazil, like completely different reality. And I was really surprised, and he was surprised too when I told him how much I connected with it, because it's basically kind of the same life that I have, like Robert's life, Joe Edgerton's character. It's really similar to a filmmaker life, like being away from your family for several months, working with a bunch of people that you don't know, and then the struggle of coming back home and don't really feeling like you belong when you're back. So there's so many aspects of his life that are similar to a filmmaker life, and especially a cinematographer. And like common themes in the movie, which is like grief and immigration, like so many things that I could connect with that felt a lot like my life. So I was really happy that not only was a project with a director I trust, but also a story I could connect so much.
And one thing I was so surprised actually reading this, because when you see the film, of course, it's a beautiful film. It's visually stunning as well. But is it true that the vast majority of it was actually natural light?
Yes.
It's incredible. Must make your life a bit harder as well.
Yes and no. I feel like, again, like there's nothing I feel that beats natural light and its beauty. And we shot everything in Washington State in the U.S. It's in the Pacific Northwest, which is around where the story is set in the book, or right next to it. And I feel like because we want to, like, I have that problem myself, especially with like period movies. There's so many layers in between you and those characters, you know, like they talk in a different way, they dress in a different way, they live in a completely different way, that I feel like everything you can do to make those layers kind of like less of a problem and kind of lose those layers, the better. I feel like that myself as an observer. So I feel like whenever I'm doing a movie, I try to put myself in that position a bit. So I feel like natural light was a choice to be able to do that a bit also, you know, to feel it more real. Like it's a period movie, but we wanted it to be connectable regardless. So natural light was really important for that. There's something about the way that Clint likes to shoot, to give space to the actors so they can move around and not worry about like C-stands, and we can just follow with the camera. We can also change things as they go, you know, like if we had the scene scripted to shoot inside, but it feels bad outside for some reason because the light is beautiful outside, or because the scene doesn't make sense anymore inside because of what the actors are doing, like, or like random things, like we shot a lot with like kids and animals, and all those things are really uncontrollable somehow, you know, like you can't really ask for a 2-year-old to read the script and follow it. So I feel like you always need to be open to change things in a way, and Clint does that really well. And I feel like all those aspects of the way we wanted to shoot the movie really married well with natural light, and to have a smaller footprint, to be able to keep shooting and not worry about like changing the lighting and then lose an hour and everything breaks and the whole mood breaks just because you want to change the lighting or anything like that.
You mentioned things you can't control, like kids as well in that case, but also nature itself. I mean, there's fire in the film, for example, and I think that's quite a big deal actually in the film. So how did you shoot that? How did you work on those scenes, for example?
As nature, fire is such a big aspect in the movie, right? It's a big theme, and I feel like it's the perfect metaphor for how everything in life have two sides, you know, like for the hugest part of the movie, you see fire as a friend, right? Like fire is there to light them at night, for them to warm themselves, for them to cook, and it's like an essential aspect of your life. You need it, basically. But then it's also what brings devastation and what destroys huge part of his life. So it's both beautiful and terrifying. It's both something that we need, but we are scared of. So it's such an important aspect of the movie, and we wanted to be as faithful as possible to that. So all the fires you see in the movie, from like candles to campfires to oil or gas lamps, it's all real. We didn't want to like bring artificial lighting for anything like that. The only scene that we actually had to bring artificial lights in the movie is the big fire when they are in the forest and he's trying to reach his house, and there's the big wall of fire that we couldn't obviously burn the forest down, and we wouldn't, even if we could. Yeah. Which would be ironic, especially with the movie we're doing. But for that scene in specific, we needed to rely on VFX and to light it. So it was a tricky scene to do, especially because everything else in the movie is real fire. So how do you make sure that that scene doesn't pop from everything else? Everything in the movie feels so handmade and so real and naturalistic. Right? And so it took a lot of time during prep to figure out how to do that. What was the right lighting and that rig, and also with VFX, what could we give them so to make sure they would have an easier job to change that for a fire. So everything we watched also was real fire footage, instead of going to other movies and doing the Hollywood version of a fire. So we just tried to be respectful to whatever real fire was the whole time.
In the forest, every least thing's important. It's all threaded together, so you can't tell where one thing ends and another begins.
Talking about specific scenes, is it true that perhaps towards the end of the film, that was kind of one of the most challenging ones when he was on the plane? And so tell us a bit more about that one.
Yeah, that one was tricky too because it's again such an important. I mean, it's the ending of such an important scene, and it is a biplane basically, which insurance wouldn't allow Joe to fly on for good. I think it's a good thing, but it's always frustrating when you have those situations because then you realize, okay, again, like how everything in the movie is so real. Everything is like shot for real. We are in real locations, sets built on location, on real forests. Everything is real, and then suddenly you're gonna have one scene that pops out. Suddenly to go to like a green screen to shoot him on a plane would feel so wrong. And again, like if on that final scene you're worried about like if that looks real or not, instead of paying attention to the emotions and everything that's so important in that scene. So it was a tricky one to figure out how to do it and to make sure that wouldn't pop. And the solution we came to, which was so our department basically built just a cockpit of a plane with like some parts of the plane built in just to work on perspective, on force perspective. And we just put that on a giant gimbal basically that would like just turn in all possible axes in a way that the cameras were mounted at that cockpit in a realistic way, like they would in a plane, and the whole thing would turn in all possible directions. So the whole light interaction is real. So the sun is spinning around them, and it's just the real sun there, and the plane is actually turning. And because that whole thing was elevated, what you see, the sky behind is actual sky. So we didn't have to like then put a green screen or anything like that. So the whole light interaction is real, the background is real, and even for the actor, they had something to react because when the plane is like nose down, the gimbal would go down, so they knew the plane was going down. So the whole thing was kind of felt real somehow, and it was really fun to shoot too because we were just like screaming, yeah, turn it left and down and on. So it was a fun scene to make in the end, and it was the last thing we shot, so it felt special.
Oh, so it was the last thing. That's good. It was a very touching scene, I have to say. And Adolpho, I must ask as well, because we're here 2026, what a year for our country in the Oscars, at the Baftas, because it's not just about one film. It's about, let's say 3 films. And even in your case, you're working not in a Brazilian production, but you are, of course, Brazilian. And you know how the country's excited for you as well, right?
It's amazing. I feel like it's amazing that Brazilians are celebrating it like we used to celebrate World Cups.
Yes.
Like it feels like the Oscar last year with I'm Still Here felt almost like it was our 6th World Cup, and so I feel like it's beautiful that we're celebrating art and culture as we used to celebrate only sports inside Brazil. And I think it's amazing that other countries are recognizing Brazilian cinema. I think it's a delayed recognition because I feel like Brazil has been doing amazing films since ever, and there's amazing Brazilian filmmakers and artists all over the world. So I feel like there's a bunch of things that kind of like came together in the past years in a good way, and I'm really happy this is all happening, and I'm really grateful to be a small part of this whole thing.
You did mention the World Cup. I have to ask you, because you became a little bit viral with your football team in Brazil. Yes. You had a special visit there, a few weeks ago as well, right? That must be quite exciting, which is Corinthians, we must say here on it.
Yes, it was really fun actually, because the last thing I was expecting when I was shooting this movie in the middle of nowhere in the US about this logger was a few months later I would be talking about football and visiting my team back in Brazil. When the Oscar nominations came, I live in Portugal now. It's been like 6 years I lived there. I was there. Like we've been doing all this campaign, but like I had a couple of days off and I went home. And when the Oscar nominations were announced, we celebrated a lot. Like I went to the balcony and screamed. I was like just going crazy, and all my neighbors were like not really understanding what was happening. And like, why is he saying like, go Brazil, go Corinthians? There's like, it's 1 p.m. There's not even a game happening, whatever. And I decided to go to Brazil to celebrate with family and friends. So I just like bought the earliest ticket I could find. And then I went to Brazil just like with the idea to celebrate with friends and family. But the whole thing became so big in Brazil It was basically just like going to a lot of places and a lot of interviews there. And I was invited to go to Corinthians to meet the players. They gave me a shirt with my name on. So it was really, really amazing. And it all happened because in some of the speeches from some other awards, I think it was Critics' Choice or something else, or I was always saying Vai Corinthians in the end, which is like something that like everybody that roots for Corinthians kind of say in any possible situation.
My dad says that.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
very...
It's just something that we say, doesn't matter what, you know, and it's not even related to football, you know, it's just like a state of mind somehow.
Beautiful, ain't it? What is? All of it. Every bit of it.
Thank you, Adolfo, and Vai Corinthians. Train Drinks is out now on Netflix. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco, and this show was edited by Mariela Bevan. Thank you for listening.